Welcome to another fundamental update. This is 25th of January 2026, and I want you all to pay close attention to this fundamental update because everything is clear in these currencies I'm going to be talking about. By now, you all know that I have three currencies I focus on: Japanese yen, US dollar, and the Australian dollar. Now, why do I focus on this? Well, these are my currencies of interest. Something I usually tell my professional students and my macroeconomic students is that you can't focus on all the currencies at once, especially if you're reading macroeconomics. You must pick three or four. You understand? And me, I pick these three. So if you want to know more about other currencies, it's best you yourself understand how to read this. But with that being said, let's just go straight into it, because what I'll be giving you, information I'll be giving you about dollar, about Japanese yen, about Australian dollar is enough for you to make profits this week, because volatility have finally kicked in and we are back in the game. We are fully back because January has been slow, but this week or the last previous week that just passed, we saw a huge volatility in the market and everything in the fundamental market started becoming clear. I myself, I saw a lot of opportunities that are about to play out, and I'm willing to make good amount of profit this week. Let's get straight into it. First of all, we saw last week a lot of economic data came out, a lot of economic indicator came out with good data, as you can see. Especially on dollar, we had a lot of green data. But I know you'll be asking me, why is dollar still bearish? A lot of good economic report is coming out on dollar, but dollar is still bearish. We'll come to that. Now, also this week, we're going to be having our first FOMC news on dollar, which is the first FOMC for this year. A very, very good one, a very important news. This is the interest rate decision, and we already know it's going to come out neutral, but we'll talk about that as we go on. For now, I want us to go straight into one currency, which is the Japanese yen. Now, why I said you should pay close attention to this fundamental update is because I'll be explaining to you deeper concepts on what is happening in these currencies and how we can use this fundamental knowledge to make money. Let's go back to the Japanese yen. So let us look at Japanese yen first of all. We can see that on Friday we saw a very bullish spike on the Japanese yen. Right, on Friday we saw a very bullish spike on Japanese yen. This is GBP USD. Let's go over to the Japanese yen currency, and this is the JXY. Let's go over to that, and I'll be showing you all something. So we saw a very bullish spike, and why did this happen? Now, a lot of you will be confused. Japanese yen has been bearish for a very long period of time, but all of a sudden we are seeing a very long bullish spike. You can see this is the JXY. JXY simply stands for the Japanese yen currency index. Now you can see that this particular currency has been trending downward. You understand? For a very long period of time. Since last year, it has been trending downward. And all of a sudden on Friday, we saw a very bullish spike. Now, why did this happen? First, let's go back to why it's trending downward. I want you to understand that since they elected the new Senate president, which I talked about in last year's fundamental updates, Senate Takashi, that Senate president is against rate hike. First of all, the Senate president is against rate hike. It's just all about cutting interest rates. And that Senate president wants to always keep the economy at a balanced peak. So that was where the bearish momentum started from. From the moment in which they elected the new Senate president, that was where the bearish momentum started. Now, Japanese yen is on serious debt. The Japanese economy, is on serious debt, which means they are owing a lot of investors. Now, what this simply means is that whatever is happening in the economy is going to be affecting the currency. Why? Because this currency is in debt. If inflation is rising, normally if inflation is rising, the currency is supposed to be rising. Why? Because investors will be predicting that, they are going to hike interest rates. But now the currency is dropping while inflation is rising, because investors are not certain about this currency. And whenever investors are not certain about the currency, they don't invest in it. They remove their money from it, and that will make the currency to keep trending downward. Do you understand? I want to just go straight to the point. First thing I want you to know that this is fiscal debt on Japanese yen. They are currently on debt, and that is why Japanese economy, the Japanese yen, any pair you see Japanese yen, the Japanese yen has been weak. JPY had just been weak. Now on Friday we now saw a bullish spike. Why did this bullish spike come up? Now I told you that as long as inflation keeps rising, the Japanese yen will keep dropping. Now we had interest rate decision last weak, right, on the Japanese yen, which was the interest rate decision, and it came out neutral. You can see by this green one I just touched. On Friday, the BOJ policy rate came out neutral. You understand? It came out the same result as predicted. Now, due to the fact that it came out as predicted, right, there was no rate hike, there was no rate cut. That was a positive data for the investors. They say that, okay, they are keeping interest rates steady even though inflation is rising. This is a good news, right? This can be a good news. This means the Japanese yen see possibilities of gaining strength, though this is not certain yet. But the government and the Senate president are working towards giving back the currency its strength. Now, if they keep working towards that and it actually works out, the currency will become bullish, because it's been bearish for over a long period of time. You can see it's been bearish for a very, very long period of time, and they are very concerned. So the government and the Senate president are working towards it. Investors now are not seeing that, oh, since these people are working towards it, this is showing possibility of a bullish sign. And not only that, the interest rate decision came out neutral. So what do I want you to take note of? If you are watching the fundamental data, if you're someone that work with fundamental analysis, watch inflation rates in Japanese yen. If inflation rates start dropping, the currency will start rising. Yes, normally I used to tell you if inflation rates start dropping, the currency will drop. But this time I'm telling you, if inflation rate is dropping, the currency will start rising. Why? Because it will reduce the amount of debt in which the country is owing investors. Do you understand? I'm going to be dropping full knowledge in this fundamental update. So because volatility is back in the markets, this can even be known as our first fundamental update for the year, because this is the one in which a lot of you used to make a lot of money. Now let's look at other currencies concerning the Japanese yen. You can see the US dollar actually sold massively, which means JPY was strong. If the base currency sells, you can see this is a massive sell. Let us go over to the candlestick and see how it looks like. This is a massive sell, a very, very strong massive sell. I know a lot of you were confused. A very, very strong massive sell. This simply means that the currency, right, the JPY was strong. Now I put a neutral key level here, and thank God I marked it neutral, because I did not see any reason why to buy here, and the market has broken that key level. So this key level is no longer valid for this zone because it just broke it ASAP. Now the market might still be coming down here. Now the big question you're going to be asking me is, JPY now strong? Are we looking at a bearish USD JPY? Not yet. Do you understand? Not yet. So that's just what I want you to know. So let's go to the AUD JPY. I want you to see that AUD JPY is the same thing. All JPY pairs dropped massively. You understand? We are done with Japanese yen. By now, you should understand what is happening in Japanese economy. Inflation is rising. The economy is in debt. So this is making the currency weak. If the inflation stop rising and they stop seeing reasons to hike interest rates, the currency might start picking up strength, and then you might see AUD JPY will start selling, or USD JPY will start selling, or CAD JPY will start selling. But for now, JPY, the currency JPY, is still weak. This doesn't mean that, oh, we have started selling. No, it still means that the currency is still weak because there is no intervention yet. The only reason why it dropped was because of they saw reasons that, oh, this might actually be a good reason for the currency to start rising. Investors are just predicting, but it doesn't mean they have started playing any role in making the currency strong. My network might be a little bit slow, but let's just try and cope with that. So this is what I mean by the currency just rose a bit, you can see, and that is it. Now, which next currency should we look at? Let us look at the next one, which is US dollar. Now, US dollar, USD is something I know a lot of us trade, and if we have been looking at the economic indicators, you can see all the data have been coming out green in USD, right? The final GDP green, unemployment claims green. You understand? All these things means that dollar is supposed to be rising, right? Dollar is doing fine. You understand? All these things is giving possibility of dollar rising, but why is dollar selling? Let us go back to the chart and see what dollar look like. So why is the dollar selling? Let us go and see that, so that we can now know what is happening in the dollar. You can see dollar is selling massively. Now, listen up, I want to explain something to you all. Why is dollar selling? Dollar is simply selling because of economic uncertainty. Now, first of all, the first sell that happened was due to the fact that Trump said something about tariff. And in the next 2 days, Trump cancelled that tariff with no good explanation. Now, one thing you have to understand about investors is that if you don't have a good reason for cancelling a news that you've already brought up previously in the past, they still feel like you will still bring it up. And that was what Trump did last year. Last year, he imposed tariff, he cancelled it, imposed it again, cancelled it. You understand? Sometimes you cancel it, impose it in the next 1 week. Trump was just filling the whole air with tariff announcements. A tariff on China, tariff on British economy, tariff on the Canadian dollar. Everything was, he was just imposing tariff in different economies, and that was what investors are feeling like. They're feeling like, oh, Trump have already started this year again with his whole tariff announcement. So this might actually start bringing dollar to its weak form. You understand? Because last year dollar sold massively as well. After the tariff announcement was announced, dollar was just selling massively last year, and now they want to continue that trend. You can see this was when dollar started rising, but if I should go back to the chart, you saw that dollar was selling massively beginning of the year. You understand? Beginning of last year, January, dollars 2025 dollars was selling massively, and that's the same thing that happened. Not only that, we are having a little bit of political issues that has to do with the European economy, the European country. Now that economic issues is bringing a risk-off environment to only the dollar. Do you understand? We are currently in a risk-off environment with only dollar, which means it's affecting the dollar, the US economy, and it's going to make dollar weak for the meantime. Do you understand? This is short term. If this economic uncertainty should end, dollar will start picking up strength. But for now, we can see that volatility have kicked in. The investors are not feeling too positive about dollar, so they're removing their money from dollar as well. Do you understand? They're removing their money from dollar, and that is what is making dollar sell massively. So here is the thing I want you to take note of. Even if economic indicator is rising, and these are the economic indicator, even if everything is coming out green, right? What investors care about is the market sentiment, the risk sentiment. If you're in a risk-off environment and inflation is coming out positive, employment is coming out positive, the dollar or the particular currency might even still be weak. The investors will not be ready to put their money into that currency. This is the beauty about fundamental knowledge. Me, last 2 years, I won't even understand why dollar is selling. I'll tell myself, employment rates came out positive, why is dollar selling? Or final GDP came out positive, why is dollar selling? Me last 2 years would not even understand what is happening. But you see the impact the fundamental knowledge have given me. I understand everything that's happening in the market. No one need to tell me anything. I already understand what is happening. Some traders right now are confused, and they will just be following technicals blindly, and that was what making them lose money. If dollar just all of a sudden become positive now, they're just following it like that. Anywhere the market flows, they will follow it. They're not even understanding what is really making the market move in this direction. Do you understand? So that's just the importance of fundamental. Now we've looked at dollar, let us look at AUD. Now the very, very clear currency in which I want you to just follow whatever I tell you in this currency is the Australian dollar. Australian dollar is just giving me positive vibe. Australian dollar is positive. They are planning on hiking interest rates, and economic indicators have been coming out positive as well. You can see employment change came out positive, unemployment rates came out positive. All these things on AUD has been coming out positive. This shows that they have possibility of hiking interest rates. Remember, if they want to hike interest rates in an economy, the currency will be bullish. Why? Because investors will start putting their money in that currency, and for them to hike interest rates, the economic result has to be coming out positive as well. And so you can see AUD result has been coming out positive. All the AUD results have been coming out positive, and this is leading to AUD being very much bullish. Let us look at GBP AUD. GBP AUD should be selling. Why? Because AUD is what is the quoted currency. Do you understand? So that's just how it works. So let's just give it a little bit time. You can see GBP AUD has been selling massively. I was looking at this zone, and I'm really regretting not selling from this zone over here, because I actually saw this last 2 weeks, and if I sold from there, maybe I would have actually swing trade all the way to this place, because I plan on swing trading this year. I don't plan on jumping from one trade to another. No, I will just use fundamentals, look at what the fundamental is saying, and hold the trade all the way to the bottom. Like, If I caught this trade by now, I won't even close because AUD is still very much strong. AUD is still very much strong. Why is this? Because the economy is picking up. The economy is picking up, inflation is rising, and there's some possibility of a rate hike on AUD economy. So you can see GP AUD selling. Let us look at AUD USD. AUD USD is buying because AUD is the base currency for AUD USD. You understand? AUD USD should be buying. Let us look at it and I'll show you. You see, very, very clean, very, very good. It's sometimes once this thing starts, it might not even give you an entry. So that's why I want to start using fundamentals to be doing my swing trade this year. I want to be using fundamentals to do my swing trade this year. Perfect. You can see once it start buying, this is the key level. Once it start buying, you might not even see an entry. So what I will even advise is, if we should see a small retracement, this is for my students and for people who are following. If we see a small retracement, you can just look for a confirmation entry and keep riding this all the way to the top. You understand? If I see a good signal, I'll also drop for the signal team. That is just simply it. So I've explained to you what is happening in Japanese yen, US dollar, and the Australian dollar. That is how these currencies are moving, and I want you to use these fundamental buyers to create an entry for yourself. And when you catch an entry, hold it all the way for a very long time, because fundamentals is something that you can ride. You don't have to be entering and coming out. Just that the downside is you just have to be patient. You just have to be patient. Do you understand? So let's look at what we have this week, the economic indicators we have this week. The important one, we have the AUD CPI, which is predicted to come out positive. You can see investors are already following the forecast for this thing, and it's coming out positive. Market has already priced into it. What do I mean? I'm trying to tell you that whenever there's an economic indicator, you don't trade it on the day of the news release. You trade it before the news release, which means you follow expectation and not the main data itself. Let me explain it for you. So now that the data is coming out on Wednesday, this is when the economic data is coming out on Wednesday. If you already understood the expectation is going to be positive, which I understood, AUD CPI is supposed to come out positive. I gave a signal to signal members, but we missed entry on AUD JPY, which would have given us a lot of profits. Now, we would have traded this CPI news on, let's say, on Tuesday last week. You understand? But we didn't catch it. So we can't come and start trading this CPI news on Wednesday or this week, because the news has already, priced in. They've already priced into expectation. So even if this thing should come out negative, it will not really affect you if you trade it based on expectation. And here is a little bit tip. This is why most pro firms don't accept you trading on day of news release. It's not even wise to trade on the day of news release. Me that studied fundamentals, me that studied macroeconomics for up to 2 years now, I can tell you for a fact, it's not even wise to trade on the day of news release. It's gambling. Even the feds don't know what the news data will come out of. So what you should be following is expectation, investors' expectation, what they are thinking it will be, and not what it will actually be. Do you understand? So even if this thing should come out positive or come out negative, it doesn't really matter, because you've already traded based on expectation, and expectation is very, very, risk-free, and you can just ride it. Do you understand? Until the day of the release. So AUD CPI is very important news in which you should be looking at. Well, I'm not really looking. My currency of focus is not Canadian dollar. I would have said Canadian dollar is also another currency you should focus on, because they are having an interest rate decision and it's going to come out neutral. Do you understand? I don't really know what's happening in the economy for Canadian dollar, but I feel like Canadian dollar is also doing well. They are positive as well, but they are planning on keeping interest rates at a neutral. Do you understand? The most important one, the dollar we're also having interest rate decision, which is coming out neutral, and this might actually make dollar to keep being bearish. Do you understand? But dollar is bearish currently because of the economic, uncertainty that is going on. That's just simply it. The unemployment claims on dollar, we don't know what it will come out, but it's actually a very, very important news in which you should look at. The PPI, core PPI, is also an important news in which we should be focused on. Now let us look at the setup in which we might have for this week, and we can call it a day. Now let's first go to gold. You can see I said we had economic uncertainty. You can open it. I said we had economic uncertainty, and then you can see that due to that, gold has been buying. A lot of people don't even know why gold has been buying, but that's because of the economic uncertainty. Gold will just keep buying. As long as Trump is on seat, I feel like gold will just keep buying. If you find anybody that find another good buy entry on gold, please hold it. Just hold it. You don't know, it might actually just keep buying. Hold it. You understand? You can open 2 positions, close one if you're satisfied. The next one, keep holding, because the honest truth is the year just started, and see how bullish gold is already is. So all these things, except if maybe there's a big retracement like this which nobody can predict, right? We don't know when the huge retracement. Whenever you see a huge retracement like this, start finding a good entry safe to buy. Whenever you see a huge retracement like this, it's good to even start finding a good entry just to buy gold. Do you understand? That is just simply how it works. So we have the Euro USD. Euro USD actually came to a key level, but I was waiting for it to reach my zone, but I wasn't mitigated. If I was mitigated, trust me, you guys will hear about it. But that would have been my first good profit of the year. So this was my entry on gold. This was sorry, I say gold, Euro USD. This was my entry on Euro USD, and it wasn't mitigated. This was a mid pivoted order block, and that was my entry. It wasn't mitigated, and it left me. I don't like crying over spilled milk, so I just deleted every setup I had on Euro USD. So it just left me with just one freaking pip. All I just needed was it to touch this mid pivoted order block, and I would have bought all the way to the top. But unfortunately, that is how the market goes sometimes. Purposely does that so that not everybody will ride it. But me, I'll be patient. We don't chase trade over here. That's the last thing I'll do. I'll come and start trying to chase it because I've missed it. No, learn from that. I'm telling you this because I know some people do this. Some people still make this mistake. Learn from that. Do not chase trade. Make sure you wait patiently and see how the trade play out. So Euro USD can still all of a sudden give a good retracement to this level over here, and then I'm willing to buy it. You understand? If that happens, I'll be willing to buy it, because from what I'm seeing, this is another key level. You understand? This is another key level. Do you get? This is another neutral zone, and if the market gets to that zone, I'm willing to buy. I'll be patient enough to wait. Do you get? That is just how it works. Do not chase trade. So that is my analysis on Euro USD. Why am I saying Euro USD is bullish? Because we have economic uncertainty. Dollar is bearish. Euro will be strong. Let's go back to USD JPY. Now USD JPY, like I said, USD JPY sold massively last week. Will that keep happening? We are not really sure, because why? We haven't really gotten any good news that is telling us that JPY is now strong. This is just investors' expectation. It doesn't mean it will last. So I'll tell you that you should just wait. This is a really, really volatile candle. I'll tell you should just wait. You shouldn't do anything crazy. Wait and see what happens. Let's see how it goes. You understand? So AUD JPY, we can see AUD JPY. Let us see it and see what's happening. AUD JPY is the same thing because of JPY sold massively. Now, if I'm looking at AUD JPY, I can see that there's a key level here. So based on the analysis I had, I said JPY is still weak. If this market gets all the way here, I might even start finding an entry to buy AUD JPY. Why? Because AUD economy is strong. It's bullish. So if I see a good confirmation, I might just keep buying all the way to the top. That's if I see a good confirmation, because I cannot predict what hasn't happened yet. It has to come here, give me a good confirmation, and then I can now enter maybe at an order block at this level. Understand? And then we can now call that a HPA if my pattern plays out, because I have a particular pattern in which I follow. But that is just simply it. Trading is also all about patience. You have to have patience and wait for the right setup to play out before you even chase a trade. You understand? CAD JPY, I feel like it's the same thing. JPY is still weak. CAD JPY just sold for a little bit of time. We might still have a little bit of buy later on. We don't know when it will happen, but definitely to happen. You understand? So I wouldn't say you should buy here. No, that's very risky. This is a key level, and this key level I will call it a buy zone, because we've already gotten a break of structure. Do you understand? I'll call it a buy zone. So if market return back to this key level, you can be looking for a confirmation. I don't say you should go and buy a confirmation. So that's just simply it. The same for GBP AUD. GBP AUD is bearish. So if you see a good retracement on GBP AUD, keep selling. You understand? If you see a good retracement, I don't know how you want to trade it, but if you see a good retracement, keep selling, because AUD economy is very strong. With that information, you already know how you trade the rest. You should already know how to trade the rest. So that is it for this week. This week is going to be a profitable one. Volatility have kicked in, and we are ready to make profit again. I hope you all are set, because I myself am pumped up. I'm pumped up, but I'm patient. You understand? I wouldn't jump in the first opportunity I see. No, I'll be patient and wait for the right opportunity to play out. And my VIP members will definitely eat from that. With that being said, have a lovely trading week ahead. See you all next weekend.